The sun hung low over Maple Grove Estates, casting a sharp, almost accusing light across the flawless sidewalks and cookie-cutter rooftops. This wasn't just a tidy neighborhood, it was a fortress of order, where every blade of grass seemed to salute the Homeowners Association rules. At the heart of this suburban perfection stood Margaret Collins, the HOA's iron-fisted secretary. Her gray hair was always pinned back, her posture stiff as a board, her eyes scanning the street like a hawk hunting for the smallest slip-UPA crooked mailbox, a lawn a half-inch too wild. To Margaret, anything less than pristine was a personal attack on the community she guarded with near-religious zeal. Behind her back, neighbors called her Karen, a nickname hissed over fences, dripping with resentment for her relentless, self-righteous meddling. Across the street lived the Thompson family, James, Laura, and their 13-year-old son, Ethan. James was a big deal in the city's police department, running the internal affairs DVY, a job that kept him wading through the murky waters of misconduct and power plays. Laura, with her warm smile and tired eyes, had been a special education teacher before pouring all her energy into Ethan, who was autistic, diagnosed at level 2. Ethan saw the world differently. Sounds, lights, and crowds could overwhelm him, turning his world into a chaotic blur. He found peace in small, precise joys, arranging pebbles in perfect spirals in their backyard, or lining up his model trains with surgical care, humming a soft, rhythmic tune that anchored him. But when things went wrong, a loud truck, a sudden change in plans, Ethan's distress could erupt into cries or pacing, not out of defiance, but because his brain was screaming for relief. The Thompsons chose Maple Grove for its quiet streets, hoping it'd be a safe haven for Ethan. They armed themselves with tools, noise-canceling headphones, daily VUI Sewell schedules, a cozy corner in their home filled with soft blankets. They explained Ethan's needs to neighbors, patiently clarifying that his humming or occasional loud outbursts weren't misbia VUI but part of his autism. Most nodded politely, but Margaret Collins saw only chaos. To her, Ethan's hums were a grating violation of her silent utopia. His excited shouts or rare meltdowns, a deliberate assault on her peace. She'd stand at her window, scribbling in a leather notebook, logging every sound Ethan made, her lips pressed into a thin, furious line. It started with snide remarks over the hedge. "Must be tough, Laura," Margaret would say, her voice syrupy with fake pity, keeping him quiet for the sake of the neighborhood. Or to James as he mowed the lawn, "Property values depend on everyone following the rules, don't you think?" The Thompsons stayed calm but firm, offering articles on autism, explaining Ethan's neurology. Margaret didn't care. She sent HOA notices, vague complaints about noise disturbances, always timed suspiciously after Ethan's louder moments. James and Laura countered with letters citing disability laws, offering more resources. Margaret's response? A cold, hard stare and more notes in her ledger. James felt a chill growing in his gut. His job showed him daily how rules could be twisted into weapons, how empathy could vanish behind self-righteousness. Seeing Margaret's obsession with Ethan, a vulnerable kid cloaked in HOA jargon, he acted. High-res security cameras went up around their house, covering every angle. It felt invasive but necessary. The storm broke on a bright Saturday morning. A landscaping crew, hired down the street, started work hours too early, their leaf blowers and trimmers shrieking through the quiet. Ethan, in the backyard arranging his pebbles, was humming happily until the noise hit like a tidal wave. His hands flew to his ears, his body froze, and a raw wail of pain tore from him. Laura rushed out, calling, "Ethan, let's go inside." But he was already lost, pacing wildly along the backyard fence, his cries growing sharper, more desperate. Margaret heard it from her kitchen. To her, Ethan's distress was just noise, a slap in the face of her perfect world. She stormed out, her face twisted with fury. "That's enough," she screamed across the yard. Laura, guiding Ethan gently, pleaded, "Margaret, please, the noise from the landscapers is overwhelming him. We've got this." But Margaret wasn't listening. Weeks of resentment boiled over. She marched to the fence where Ethan, now rocking against the iron bars, was trapped in his sensory nightmare. He needs to learn control, Margaret bellowed, her voice venomous. Then, in a move that froze the air, she pulled a pair of gleaming police handcuffs from her apron pocket. Before Laura could react, Margaret reached through the fence, grabbed Ethan's wrist, flinched, his cries turning to terror, and snapped a cuff on him. With a second click, she locked the other cuff to the fence. There, she spat, stepping back, smug. Maybe now you'll learn some quiet. Ethan went still, his cries choking into gasps, tears streaming down his pale face. He stared blankly, trapped, his safe space violat. Laura's scream was primal, a mother's horror. Margaret, what have you done? Unlock him now. She lunged for the fence, but Margaret blocked her, defiant. He was out of control, she said coldly. Someone had to do something. James rounded the house, drawn by Laura's scream. The sight his son, handcuffed like a criminal, Margaret's smug face, Laura's desperation hit him like a punch. Rage surged, but his training kicked in. His voice was low, lethal. Margaret, step away from my son. Now, she faltered, sensing something new in his tone, but doubled down. He was disturbing everyone, James. I just restrained him for the neighborhood's sake. Ignoring her, James dialed 911. This is Chief James Thompson, Internal Affairs. I'm at my residence. We have an unlawful restraint and felony child abuse. Send units now. Code 3, body cameras on. He gave Margaret's address, naming her as the suspect. Her bravado flickered as felony sank in. Police swarmed Maple Grove minutes later, sirens cutting off abruptly, lights flashing across the perfect lawns. Officers, faces grim, took in the scene. Ethan, trembling, still cuffed. Laura, soothing him through the bars. James, radiating fury. Margaret, now pale. James briefed the sergeant. Those are department cuffs, Smith & Wesson Model 100s. Remove them, bag them as EVY Denke, and run the serial number. Now, two officers gently freed Ethan, the cuffs click echoing in the silence. Laura pulled him close, whispering comfort as he shook. Margaret was cuffed and led to a patrol car, sputtering. This is absurd. He was screaming. Her protests were recorded, cold and clear, by body cameras. The investigation moved fast. The cuff's serial number traced to Officer Daniel Carter, a young cop known for cutting corners. James called his deputy. Find Carter. Secure his gear, his locker, his weapon. We're opening an internal investigation. Neighbors, drawn by the commotion, whispered in clusters, their shock growing as word spread. Margaret had handcuffed an autistic boy. At headquarters, Carter cracked under questioning. Security footage showed him meeting Margaret at a coffee shop, where she ranted about that noisy kid. He admitted giving her the cuffs as a joke, claiming he never thought she'd use them. His excuses didn't save him, was suspended, his badge gone, facing charges for misconduct and aiding abuse. Margaret faced a legal tsunami. Felony child abuse, kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, illegal possession of police equipment. Her claims of protecting the neighborhood collapsed against body cam footage, witness statements, and Carter's confession. The HOA, desperate to save face, ousted her and considered banning her from Maple Grove. Her assets were frozen for the Thompsons' INEVY table lawsuits. The case exploded in the media, sparking debates about VY gigantism, autism awareness, and police accountability. Maple Grove reeled. Neighbors, once annoyed by Ethan's sounds, now brought meals, joined autism awareness events Laura organized, and ensured quiet landscaping hours. James pushed for police training on autism, teaching officers to recognize sensory needs and avoid misjudging behaviors. Ethan's healing was slow. Therapy helped, but fences and loud noises haunted him. Nightmares lingered. Yet, with his parents' fierce love and a community now rallying around him, he began to reclaim his backyard. His humming returned, softer at first, then bold. One day, with Laura's help, He hung a bright train-shaped bird feeder on the fence's iron bar, turning a place of trauma into one of beauty. The Thompsons never forgot that morning, but they refused to let it define Ethan. Their quiet advocacy grew, a ripple of change from a cruel act. Margaret, in prison, faded into a grim footnote, while Ethan's pebble spirals grew more intricate, his joy a defiant light in Maple Grove's transformed heart.